Let's see. We got just a couple topics left. Watch_Dogs 2 confirmed.
I like how you added the underscore to that.
Yeah, well, I have to.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Just like the underscore codec. It's watch_dogs. So, Watch Dogs 2 confirmed. Ronan, are you excited or are you not excited? We talked about that game in such a light where it almost was good, but it just sucked. You know what I mean?
It sucks balls.
Yeah, no, just don't be nice about it. Just tell the truth.
Like I said, I liked the idea of it. Like I liked the idea of a hacker kind of game.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when we saw it at E3, it blew our fucking minds.
Right.
But what they delivered was nothing compared to that. And that's why I'm worried about MGS remake. Okay, you can spit out ideas, even show the ideas, but once people get their hands on it, if it doesn't live up to the promise, holy shit, there's gonna be a shitstorm coming your way, and Ubisoft certainly got theirs. I'm not excited for Watch Dogs 2. I honestly, but
So wait, we shouldn't invite Aiden Pierce, voice actor, on the show. Okay.
No, please do. No, this is fine. No, don't say that. Hold on a second.
How was it recording all those boring lines? How was it delivering all those lines really boringly?
How did you feel about those lines?
I got paid.
I don't even know who it was. I got to look it up. Maybe he was in some good games before and he just got, a dud.
I mean,
A dud, as they would say in Metal Gear Solid 2. A dud. I love that line.
it's a dud.
Yeah, it's a dud.
Dud.
Okay. So, Ronan, obviously, Yong's not excited about Watch Dogs 2. What do you feel about it? Is this their shot at redemption, or is this game going to repeat?
So my answer to this question, it may shock you. For somebody who actually disliked the first Watch Dogs. Exactly.
It's a dud.
For somebody who actively disliked the first Watch Dogs, I am actually excited for Watch Dogs 2.
Okay.
The reason for that is because Watch Dogs was such a low bar. The only place they can go with this one is up.
Fair.
The only place they can go is up with
There's no way we can fail because we've already failed before. Okay,
We've already
got
hit
it.
the lowest rung. We can only go up from here, right? I'm hoping, at least.
It was such a solid idea. I love the idea of it. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think like you said, they showed off a lot of stuff that got me really excited. Like I think one in particular was there was a trailer where it starts out at the little bar and then he chases the guy out of the bar and they get in that big car accident underneath the overpass. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
I remember that. Yeah.
that was epic. And when that happened, actually in the game, there was 3 cars, and I killed all the guys instantly, and I didn't have to save that little civilian that was trapped in the door.
And I was disappointed that the camera didn't pan out and reveal that it was multiplayer the whole time, like it did in all the trailers. I was disappointed by that. I'm not kidding. I was very disappointed by that.
See, that's what Ubisoft does. They
God damn it.
show all this stuff that's just pre-rendered and pre-made, but when the final game ships, it's less than half the thing that they showed at E3.
I think this is a good position to transition into The Division by Ubisoft.
Oh, okay.
We played it, Ronan and I, and we both liked it. Have you played it yet?
I've not liked it. Is it good though? I don't know. From what I saw, it doesn't seem to live up to what I saw in E3. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't look like that. I'll tell you that. It looks good. It looks good, but it's not as detailed as they showed. Like the puddles in that trailer that you're talking about, you could see reflections off of the puddles. The windows weren't mirrors, like I was complaining to Ronan about last show. In the gameplay that we played, all the storefront windows were just static reflections of something that wasn't even there. So yes, the game has hit a little bit of a visual downgrade, but it's supposed to look better on PC, and both Ronan and I enjoyed the gameplay of it. We are concerned about the content, about how much will be there, how much things there are to do, but we both enjoyed it. It's kind of like an old school Rainbow Six meets Borderlands kind of thing. Yeah. That's the best way I can put it.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
It was better than Destiny.
I mean, it's
the demo
not hard.
The demo was better than Destiny. Well, there's an open beta coming out in the next. next week. So I would say, I would suggest if you like an RPG, you have to keep in mind it's a third person shooter, and Ronan and I again we talked about this during our last Codec episode. It is a third person shooter, but it's an RPG first, so enemies are kind of bullet spongy.
That's what I didn't like actually.
That's I guess Ronan and I actually enjoyed that aspect. Or Ronan, I don't.
Yeah, for me, I enjoyed that aspect because if for me, like people say, oh yeah, Destiny's gunplay was better, stuff like that, and I get that part of it. But for me, the issue with Destiny's gunplay is that the guns were so powerful that you couldn't really tell the difference in damage for the most part.
Okay.
And with the Division, you can actually see whether or not the gear you're getting or the loot you're getting actually having an impact on the enemies you face in battle. On top of that, so I feel like they are more focused on the RPG aspect and the loot aspect of that in this game more so than Destiny was.
And it's a little more class specific in the Division as well.
Yeah.
It just looks weird because like Borderlands, it had that spongy element to it, but because of the over stylized nature of the game,
right?
It just blended really well. It's just weird to see this guy unleashing an entire magazine on a dude point blank.
Yeah.
And the dude just shrugs it off like he got tickled, like
a lot of people have that same problem that you're talking about because you have those real world elements in an RPG kind of world.
But it creates an amount of dissonance, and I can understand that part of it absolutely.
Yeah. To us, it kind of. To me, at least, I don't want to say us because I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But to me, it didn't feel unnatural. Like when I got a gun, it was tough for me to think of it as a gun as opposed to like an item in in a game. And so with that, I'm used to playing a lot of tactical shooters. Like I play games where it's one shot headshots, a couple couple body shots to kill. Here they weren't bullet spongy to the point where it was unbelievable.
Right.
They were, except for the bosses. The bosses do take
they soak up. They soak up a lot
of damage. But if you are a sniper, for instance, and like I said earlier, the weapons are very class specific. So if you find a good marksman rifle and you put your perks and abilities are towards being like a marksman, you can one-shot headshot people plenty of times. It gives you the bonus headshot damage. If your marksman rifle is good, it has a good high damage rate anyways. So the really where I saw the issue with bullet spongy was more towards the player side of things, because some people will build tanky and they'll have a lot of items that have health, and so they've got way more health than an average NPC will. So
and that one doesn't really take too much effect unless you're in the dark zone,
right?
When you're trying to fight against other players to get specific loot and stuff like that, then you start seeing that happen a lot.
I'm really excited to see you play it because I think you're gonna either love it or like right now you're gonna be way on the fence and maybe hate it. Mm-hmm. So when the beta comes out, it is an open beta. Make sure you play it. We'll have you back on the Codec and we'll invite you.
I'm not hating on the game. It's just it seems like another case of not quite living up to what was shown, and that's a problem. That Ubisoft, they just continue to do that, overhyping something, and just while the product maybe it's an acceptable product, if it doesn't live up, hell, it should be getting better over time, not worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And when a game just doesn't live up to what was originally shown, I just have a big problem with it, regardless of whether the final product is acceptable or not. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna completely dismiss the game. I think I've heard both sides of the fence. Some people really like it. Some people have their concerns with it. But definitely, I'm definitely gonna play it before I fully, completely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
definitely.
What you said actually, makes me a little more excited to play the game. So we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
it's definitely a looter shooter. It's one of those ones where I think it's a good step for Ubisoft if they get this game right when it comes out. It addresses the concerns that Ronan and I have, which are right now when you play the beta, you'll see it's going to be a little different. I don't know if you heard about that, Ronan, but it's not going to be the same beta that you and I played.
No, they said they're going to have like a different mission and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a different mission. So you'll see that when you play Young, that they're only going to give you like a couple missions. It's going to feel very content light, and they're probably going to kind of push you to play in the dark zone, which is the PvP element. Okay. But our concern is that the PvE content might not have like as many quests or things to do as a traditional RPG should, like Skyrim or Fallout or whatever. That's our concern is there going to be enough stuff to do when you're not playing PvP? Right. So you'll see that here, and maybe that'll be a concern that you have, or maybe they'll put more quests in there and stuff. But
how's the world? I mean, it's obviously empty for a good reason. Like it's I don't know
It
what the
it
story
wasn't
is.
as empty as you would expect it to be. I expected it to be a little more empty. I think in the final game, it's actually going to be a little more populated than it is.
Hmm.
Just because they've stated that they've removed a lot of the beginning opening area and a lot of like story elements. But there's a good mix of bad guy NPCs, good guys doing things in there, and then random citizens that have maybe stayed back and through.
Okay.
The place where it seems the most empty is the dark zone,
Which should be
which
the opposite of
yeah,
that, you know?
it should be more populated. That should be where all the main bad guys are, and maybe it will be in the final
It
product.
was a closed beta though, so not a lot of people could be there. I
Right.
guess.
Well, I mean NPC wise.
Oh, NPC wise.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
NPC wise, it was pretty barren. There wasn't a whole lot of enemies there, but like I said, they are withholding a lot of content. That's where the issue arose with me and Ronan. Is it didn't feel like there was enough like random things going on that should be happening that you could stumble upon. There's these things called encounters, which are less than side missions. Side missions actually have kind of like a little bit of a story behind
Right.
them or things going on. An encounter will be like, there's a squad of good guys pinned down over here, go help them out. Or there's a bad guy stronghold right here, go clear it out. There's a couple of those scattered around, but we're looking, like Ronan and I, we're looking for more like Witcher 2 style stuff where it's a side quest, it takes you to a couple different places, it means something kind of to the story. My suggestion, Ronan didn't really like this one, but my suggestion was during the game you can find things like food, water, canned goods, things like that. I'd like more like kind of what do they call those?
Survival.
No, just like randomly generated things where like take food and supplies to this place, and then on the
Oh,
way
yeah.
you encounter some bad guys or something. Just kind of randomly generated quests like you have maybe
Oh.
in Fallout, where it's like this place is getting attacked now, go help
Oh,
them
the
out.
settlements. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
That-
whole meme around that, you know,
Yeah.
because of how. Like,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they take it for granted in a game like Fallout 4 because it has so much like content, so many things to do. But in the setting of the Division, it would work perfectly because you would actually need to go do things like that in the kind of. I don't want to say everybody's saying it's post-apocalyptic. I don't want to say it's that. It's post like disease outbreak. Like it's not like the whole world is decimated and stuff like that. It's New York's the disease is taking place in New York, and New York needs some help. So
There's a term for that I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, but I can't. It's not. It starts with a P, and I can't think of what it was.
pandemic,
Something like that.
post-pandemic world. I don't know. The other thing that I want to talk about with the Division, Young, it's going to be I guess a little hard for you to commentate on it, but maybe if we can give you some background on it. They did release what I think might be the final bad guy group. I don't know if you saw that, Ronan, but they revealed another.
Oh, the factions
Yeah,
Yeah.
they revealed another one called the Last Man Brigade, which
battalion.
yeah, which
Yeah.
seems to be kind of paramilitary group maybe that was in the city, or I haven't got a lot of background on it. I don't know if it's like an actual battalion of the U.S. Army that's gone bad, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be
Right.
in New York. I don't know. But they did look cool. They all had winter outfit and winter gear, all decked out. So you've got the rioters, which are just your regular random people. You've got the Rikers, which are the prisoners escaped from the Riker Penitentiary in New York. You've got the cleaners, which are the garbage truck men.
The flamethrower dudes. Yeah, the flamethrower
No,
dudes.
they're the garbage truck men. Okay, that have flamethrowers. I don't know. They I guarantee you there would be no garbage man in the world who would join up in a gang to combat a disease. They would go home. But okay, you've got the garbage men who are going to clean the city with flamethrowers, and then now you have the last battalion soldiery kind of guys. So those are the factions that we know about. That seems like that might be it. I don't know. Maybe there'll be more in DLC.
They might be hiding something that they don't want to show us.
Yeah, maybe they're hiding something, but that's quite a bit. That's quite a number of people. So I wanted to get your comment on it, Ronan. You played the beta.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the other factions kind of look like and act like you fought. I think I know you fight the cleaners and I know you fight the rioters. I don't know if you fight the Rikers in there, but Did you like the reveal of this new enemy? Are you looking forward to that kind of confrontation?
I am only if they, differentiate their behaviors in a
Yeah,
certain sense to make them stand out. I think, I
that's a
guess it'd be
good point.
yeah, the what was it, the rioters? No, was it the Rikers? The guys with the hoodies and the pistols
Yeah,
that
those are
shoot them
those are
sideways.
the
By the way,
rioters.
they shoot them
They all
sideways.
shoot
By the
like
way,
this, young. All the rioters shoot sideways.
Gangstas.
Gun.
gangster
Gangsta
style,
gun.
so gangster that they run into your gunfire with no fucks given. But anyways,
They
I
also
hope
send baseball bat guys at you.
yes, they do, and they don't give a fuck either. But as long as they change their behaviors up to a sense for where it makes sense to me, then I'm totally okay with that. I just don't want a situation where it's like, hey, we got these guys who actually take cover, and then we have these guys that run at you all the time. And we always have these guys with baseball bats on the side that might come out of nowhere and hit you in the fucking face.
That's the worst is when you're in that cover angle and you can't really see over your other shoulder, and then they come out of nowhere and just whack King Griffey you right in the face.
And you would think for a second that that would be like the dumbest thing you could possibly do is run at somebody with a baseball bat when they have a gun. But they have that shit on lock to the point where if they hit you, it actually stuns you for a few
Yeah,
seconds or you can't do anything. So it's actually pretty bad. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm curious to see what that last man battalion is all about. I think actually adding a somewhat paramilitary group into the game against these agents that are hired by the government to help, contain this issue that's going on. I think that's a good dynamic to have. But I do think they might be hiding something else against us as well. I know
I
that
hope so.
they mentioned our faction, the division, which is what we are, as a separate faction in the game, and I think that may have some implication in the story at some point, or it might just be related to the fact
Yeah,
that hey, you can shoot each other in the dark zone. That's a separate faction that you fight. Um,
yeah, I like
but
that
yeah,
idea. I like that
yeah,
idea of like maybe you might not be the good guys in other people's eyes.
right, right, and that definitely plays in a big way in the dark zone for sure, which is why they call you a rogue agent when you shoot each other in the
Yeah,
dark zone. But yeah, I do think that they might be hiding something else in there from that, and I think the last Med Battalion might be the step before that they want to show us. And for some reason, I got the Metal Gear Solid 1 Genome Soldier feel from them when I saw them. I don't know why. That's just the way they looked.
yeah, they were kind of puffy, and they had the white outfit get up. So,
Yeah.
Young, what do you think about different factions in a game like this? Is that something that you like to see in an RPG, or when you're handling factions, do you have certain guidelines for how they should be? As Ronan said, right now they seem like they have their own personalities, where the rioters will kind of just shoot at you and send some guys with baseball bats. The cleaners, which are the guys with the flamethrowers, they tend to kind of stay back and try and get you with the flamethrower. I like that idea. Hopefully,
Yeah.
this paramilitary group will do something along the lines of maybe like suppressing you, throwing grenades, which the AI tend to do right now. So, what do you think about it? How do you feel about the amount of factions and how they're being handled?
Now, are these factions just basically enemy types? That's what
Yes.
it sounds
Yeah.
like. Okay,
Mhm.
so you can't really interact with these factions.
Not
As far as
as
we know.
Yeah,
As
as
far as
far
we
as we
know.
know right now, it's
Okay.
just it just varies up the enemy types as
Yeah.
far as what you're fighting.
Okay. Now within each faction, are there different enemy types, or is it all flamethrower guys, all bat guys,
Oh,
all
yeah, it's
gangsta
they're
guys?
they're varied. The rioters who we talked about earlier, they have the guys that shoot the pistol sideways, and they have the guys with like baseball bats. Some of them have
Okay.
golf clubs,
Yeah.
things
Okay.
like that. They have very kind of low tech weapons. The cleaners have kind of bigger, bulkier get ups. They have tanks on their back for their flamethrower. They shoot AKs. And then the Rikers, excuse me, as far as just what I've seen in the trailers, they have more like prison type weapons. They'll have like shotguns, pistols, things of that nature, and police like body armor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I hope you can interact with them to some degree, maybe within the main story.
Right.
Okay.
Because it'd be a shame to just have them to just be
Just as
enemy
any.
types. Like you might as well just like it just seems like a convenient way to add factions when in the
Right.
end it's just a
It could
typical.
be.
Yeah, it's just sort of, but it's always cool to set up your world that way where you can differentiate enemy types and their motivations, and maybe that'll somehow lend itself into the story and the dynamic between all the different factions and the world that you inhabit. So I think maybe story-wise it could have a lot of cool implications, and like what each faction, what their
Does
ideals are, and what their method of survival is, and what have you. And
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's something we actually didn't talk about. They actually do have like a reason behind why they're
okay,
factions.
that's cool. Yeah,
So
Right.
yeah.
yeah, I think that trailer kind of breaks it down. The writers kind of talk about how they're going to take what they want because of the system or whatever. The Rikers talk about how they broke out of jail and how they're not going back, so they're defending themselves. The Cleaners like love New York. They're kind of those New York lovers kind of
Mm-hmm.
guys, and they
And
want to.
they are dead set on purging the
Yeah,
city of the disease.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to burn it away, basically. And then which was kind of what Ronan was pointing out about the factions. The last group that we seen, the Last Man Battalion, have said that everybody is in chaos and they're bringing order to the chaos, including the division people, what it looks like. So it looks like they think that their way's better than everybody else's, and that's going to be what there's like a guy giving like a speech right on the street level, which I think that's something you're going to appreciate is just the kind of level design. Our issues with the level design were that there wasn't a lot of like enterable buildings other than like quest specific places,
Oh,
but
really?
the levels are still
Yeah.
pretty beautiful. They look really good, and the car to car, block to block combat's really fun. I think you'll like that. But overall, yeah, what you're saying is they do have some motivations, and hopefully when we finally get some more story details, which they're being very very bleak about right now, there's like almost no information on
Yeah.
like the actual story going on. We'll be able to see if those motivations kind of tie into gameplay
Yeah,
mechanics.
that'd be great, and I think in that sense, factions could play a pretty big role. But I mean, nothing wrong with just being enemy types. But like something that I loved about New Vegas was that each faction could be enemy or friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you could, if you wanted, befriend a certain faction, even if in the eyes of all the others they were considered evil. Like the Kaiser faction or whatever, they're like
Yeah.
savages. But whatever, if
Oh,
you want
yeah.
to join them, go for it.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I think that
this
was.
I get that this isn't like a single player RPG. It's a role playing game, so that kind of thing would be maybe a little more difficult to handle. But it'd be
Maybe,
cool
yeah.
to add a little more interactivity with these factions rather than
Yeah.
them just being enemies you beat down. But
I think you make a good point with that. I would like to see kind of like in Fallout how the enemies would actually fight each other, and you could run into like pockets of them like actually doing combat with each other, and then if you were friends with one, you would help them, defeat the
Sure,
other group. I
sure.
think that added. That's what I'm saying. Like I hope the division does as far as content goes. Like I hope there's enough there to make us feel like immersed in that world. Because
Right.
if you're talking, when you talk about this post-pandemic kind of RPG, it's really easy for it to be like you were asking. It's very easy to be kind of like empty and
Yeah.
nothing going
Epidemic,
on.
by the way. Epidemic, by the way.
Epidemic, there we go.
Yeah, epidemic. There we go. It just came to me when you said it. I'm like, what is it again? Oh, epidemic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
That's it.
So I think those are all valid points. Like I said, it is coming out for an open beta for everybody to try. So keep an eye out on your Steam account. It preloads on the 16th. I think you can play it through the weekend. And last beta, it was extended by a day or two. So maybe we'll all get to play with each other. I think that would be cool. Me, you, Ronan, and whoever our lucky fourth member is, we can go in there and loot some gear. Maybe we'll play it on the PS4. Everybody's got a PS4.
Yeah.
So